Well, that's pretty good. Got
Yeah, it's kind of like that Anchor Stream.
Anchor Stream. I don't think I've had that one.
Anchor Stream. Anchors. I don't know if it's Steam or Stream, but it's from Washington.
Oh, okay.
It's one Daryl usually has at the Twisted Cork.
Okay, I'll have to check that one
I
out.
think it's called Anchor.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. It's Anchor
It's like
something.
this, but it may have a little more crisp to it.
Yeah.
A little more, you know.
His, I don't know, his might be coming out of a tap too. I don't know if his is tap or if his is...
No, it's a can.
It's a can, okay.
Yeah, it's a goofy looking can.
Yeah. Yeah, we're drinking Pint 9 Brewing Neon 9's Hazy India Pale Ale. That's what we got today. It is brewed in Nebraska. Looks like it's down in Papillion. Yeah, I thought it might have been a local one. Yeah, so I like trying the local ones out. But no, that's actually pretty good. It's one of the better ones I'd say I've had.
Yeah, it's smooth. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very nice.
It's got a nice flavor to it.
I wonder how hazy you'll get.
Yeah, well, it was 6.3% alcohol. Oh, 6.7.
There you go.
So not bad. A little higher than some, but a little lower than some. Some of the other ones I've been drinking have been like, I mean, they're double pale ales, I think is essentially what it is, and they're like 8%. But
that's why I would always get the Budweiser
Platinum.
The Platinum.
Yeah, because they were 6%.
Higher alcohol.
Yeah. You remember when Daryl gave us that quadruple pale ale one time?
God. Yeah.
It was like 16%. Yeah. Oh my gosh. He's like, yeah, drinking one of these is like drinking 5 Budweisers or something like that.
Yeah, it was.
They were so strong. I remember he gave us just like that. It was just a little glass. Like it wasn't even like a full beer. It was like probably 4 ounces. And after drinking that, 4 to 8 ounces maybe. And after drinking that, you could feel a buzz.
Yeah. Where was that one from? I can't remember.
I thought it might have been a local one, to be honest.
It's
at the
possible.
time.
That's all he does over there
is
is craft beer.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I don't remember, but no, this one's pretty good. But yeah, so today I got my dad on the podcast. First time podcast.
It is first time. What will I have to say? I have no clue.
And, you know, that's kind of how everybody goes into it. Nobody has a clue what we're talking about, but that's what makes it fun. It's just a fun conversation.
What are we talking about?
I don't know. I was actually kind of thinking back on all the just wild hunting stories over the years from our trips, and then also just from like trips that you used to tell me about back in the past. Like I was thinking back even, it was last night when I was thinking about it, of the first time we went deer hunting.
Okay.
When you took me.
All right.
That was that year that we
Pheasant or deer?
Deer. I'm talking deer first, because pheasant you took me when I was really young.
Right.
But deer, I just passed hunter safety.
Right.
And then you went to try and buy the rifle tag online, and they all bloop, disappeared. You added it to cart. Right. There was like so many left. And you added it to cart, and then went to pay, and it just said, nope, sold out.
It disappeared on us.
So I remember that happening. And so then I thought at that point, I was like, well, we're not going to get a hunt this year, which was a big bummer. But then you ended up buying the muzzleloader and bought the muzzleloader tag. Mm-hmm. So I remember that because we went to that place where you guys hunted for years.
Yep.
And great property, obviously.
Yeah, by Napier, Nebraska.
Yep. And I remember sitting there. I remember freezing so bad one morning. I had like 4 pairs of baseball socks on because like I didn't have like any like good camo or anything. And I remember my toes were so frozen, and I so badly didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to like be the reason that we got out early. And we didn't even see a single deer that morning.
Was Tony on that trip with us?
Tony and Steve.
Okay, Tony and Steve. Oh, that's right.
So that was the trip that we sat, and it was like the second to last day we were there, and we heard the gunshot down the way.
That's right.
And Tony was shooting your old Kentucky 45 muzzleloader, and all of a sudden I just remember we hear the gunshot, and then I look over, and I saw a deer running, and I'm like, oh, it's a doe. It's a buck. And I just remember how he was just huge.
Yeah.
I mean, I was sitting there, you had the gun, and at that point, I was counting his points, and he looked like, to me, it looked like he was a 6x6. I mean,
he was a big deer.
Big deer. And I just remember thinking, and he stopped probably 60 to 80 yards in front of us.
Oh, yeah, broadside.
Yeah, so he stopped 60 to 80 yards in front of us because of me being loud as a kid, because I freaked out. But he stopped, and you were right on him with the gun, and I remember you pulled the trigger, and I just thought he was going to drop, and he just stood there, and we were like,
learned a valuable lesson that day.
Yeah. Yeah, so my dad... Don't trust the gun out of the box.
Oh, my gosh. That was so horrible.
Yeah, because you bought that was it a night muzzleloader? Is that what it was?
It was guaranteed
Yeah,
100 yards to be within a quarter.
that's what they claimed.
Not even close.
Yeah, so he shot, and the deer just stood there, and we had no idea what to do. I
Right.
mean, we were just like, we have no clue. And I only say that because I know you're a good shot with a gun, because I've seen you kill tons
And I
of
remember you
deer.
said shoot again, and I just thought,
I mean, obviously we couldn't.
I had no
yeah.
clue where the bullet went.
Yeah, and we couldn't even reload that fast anyway. It's a
No.
muzzleloader. But yeah, you had no clue.
So I couldn't see the point of.
Yeah.
I didn't know where to point.
Right. Because it's not like we saw dirt fly somewhere or anything like that. We just didn't
We had
have
a
clue.
scope, but yeah, it was just, and it ended up being like 22 inches forward and 2 feet high or something like that. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, that deer ran off, and then the next day we went out got a huge cardboard box and started shooting at it, and it was so far off, and we were just so distraught over it. I remember how mad you were. You were like, I'm gonna write him a letter. Like, this is back when I was young, back when like email wasn't even a thing yet. Like,
I know. That was a mistake on my part.
Yep.
I learned a valuable lesson. You don't ever go out cold with a gun.
yeah, don't trust whether they say it's 100% guaranteed or
Oh,
not.
yeah. And it wasn't a cheap gun, so you would
Yeah.
assume they were. But, again, you got shipping and, scopes get knocked around, and it may have been there, but
Yeah.
horrible, horrible.
That was a fun trip, though.
It was a blast.
We were sleeping in that camper. It was a truck camper, one of those camper shells.
Yeah, we stayed out there, and they stayed in the house.
The house infested with mice and flies and everything. Yeah. And then I still remember. I remember Steve shooting at a deer with the flintlock pistols, muzzleloader pistols.
Oh my gosh, my brothers were a handful.
Oh man, they got some good stories though. I tell you that.
I've seen my oldest brother Steve. He literally ran out of a tree.
Yeah, ran right out of a tree stand.
Fell to the ground about 12 feet in snow.
Yep.
But yeah, no, it was. This deer has been always a lot of fun.
Yep.
Tony was always entertaining. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you never didn't have a good story from Tony every year.
Oh my gosh, he'd come up with some wild ones. That's like the time he was on the property that we were hunting, and you and I came back, and he's like, I got a bobcat. I got a bobcat.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, well, let's go get it. And we get out there, and he's telling me where to go, and he doesn't get around all that good anyhow.
Yeah.
And so you and I went down the tree line along the cliffs, and I said, I ain't got no bobcat. He says, he got it. I know I killed him. And we're looking, finally, I find it, and it's a coyote.
Yeah.
I said, did you shoot a coyote? Nope, it's a bobcat. I said, well, I'm staring at a coyote.
Pretty sure it's coyote. No, I remember that.
He was half blind.
Oh, yeah.
Holy crap.
Oh, man, I can't even remember the amount of times I'd see him shoot a deer at like 50 yards and clean miss a deer.
Well, that's why he switched. That's why he switched to an auto.
Yeah.
He just figured he put enough bullets in the air, he had a chance. I mean, at one point, he used to collect guns. He had, a 300 Win Mag with a Leopold scope, and he couldn't hit the stinking broadside of a barn.
Yeah.
Said there's something wrong with it, and so I took it out, and the first deer I shot him and killed him.
Yeah.
Said nothing wrong with the gun.
I think he got buck fever.
And
bad.
from that day, he never used a scope.
Never used a scope ever again. Yeah, that's when I remember him always telling me, like, I'm open sights. I like to get down in the jungle. That's what he always said.
I just think it's because he couldn't think and see.
Yeah,
and
probably.
he could probably see the sight on the rifle, but and he just knew if he looked down the barrel, it was in the right direction.
Yeah, yeah. Who knows how much he was actually aiming?
He didn't kill very many deer.
Yeah.
Over the years, I mean, he did not. I mean, very few deer did he kill.
Yeah.
I killed a lot of deer for him.
Filled a lot of tags for him. Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
You get to the last 2 days. Okay, if you see one, go ahead and shoot it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, killing deer was not that difficult.
No.
But it was for him, so that was quite. It was again. It was. He was entertaining. He always had stories.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my gosh.
He would have been fun to have on the podcast.
Oh my gosh, he would have entertained you.
Oh,
There was that time where you and we sat him up there at Thomas Creek, and there was all these little pine trees.
Yeah.
And we told him, they're going to come right through here. And sure enough, here they come.
Yeah.
And we heard the bullets flying. And when we finally came later to him, he's like, the thing jumped right over the tree.
Yeah, I remember you said that.
And I'm just thinking, how could you have missed that? It's only about 40 yards away, broadside.
I know. That was a nice buck, too, I think I remember.
But yeah, he was not a good shot.
No, he wasn't.
You know, buck fever is a bad thing. You know, people that get it, I don't know if it's breakable.
I mean, I've seen a couple people with buck fever before, like at times, but then also not at other times. Like Phil one time,
right?
It was that we were sitting at Thomas Creek and he was shooting at that mule deer, and before he even shot, like he was breathing so heavily. I remember, and I'm like, oh, he is not even gonna get close. Because the first couple deer he killed, he was perfectly fine,
right?
But for whatever reason, that one just kind of had his heart pumping, and it wasn't like it was a giant deer, but it was just like for some reason it got his heart pumping like that.
But with the mule deer, their antlers kind of are.
They look bigger,
taller, so
it was literally just a huge fork.
Yeah,
like it was just a fork, 2x2, but it was the biggest fork I'd ever seen.
In his eyes, he probably seen 6.
Yeah. But I'd seen him with that, but then like other times I'd seen him hunt without it. But I think there was one time I was hunting out west where we hunt now, and I was sitting by that pivot where I killed that deer that one time when you and I were sitting there, and I had all these deer coming out. There was a bunch of does coming out, and I was like, man, there's got to be a buck somewhere. And I was looking through my rifle scope, just looking because I didn't have binoculars at the time. And I was just looking at these does, and all of a sudden, this doe comes running out. Another doe comes running out of the trees, and then this big old buck come busting out chasing her. And it, for whatever reason, seeing that happen through my scope up close, it got my heart pumped. I could not stop shaking. I was like, if this deer comes over here and I get a chance at it, I don't even know if I'm going to hit it. I was shaking so bad because it just, whatever reason, that just got my heart pumping really bad.
You know, the bigger the antlers are, the more excited you get.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there was when we first started hunting out there, and I was with my electrician, and we came across a muley that was just absolutely enormous.
Yeah, I know. I wish I could have seen that deer.
And unfortunately, I did not have a mule tag.
Yeah.
I was so irritated.
Yep.
But yeah, it was. And I didn't, at the time, we didn't have that camera stuff to be able to zoom in.
No, you couldn't zoom in and get like a good picture of it because it was like, what, 250 yards away?
Oh, yeah. Like but it was massive.
Yeah.
I mean, when we first seen it, we thought it was a stinking elk. It was just that big.
That's crazy.
And then the longer we looked through binoculars, we said it's a stinking mule deer. Oh my word! You know, it's probably one you'll only see once in your lifetime.
Yeah, if it's that big of a mule deer, like that's a once in a lifetime deer for
Never
anybody.
seen him again. Never seen him. It's too bad. I mean, he was big. I mean, we still see a lot of mule deer out there. Nothing a massive, you know.
Well, that's what's frustrating is that first year. Remember how many nice mule deer we saw?
Oh yeah, Phil's seen a ton down in that one big draw.
He had that one with the drop time. We talked about that when he was on the podcast.
And I remember
he couldn't shoot it.
He put his iPhone through his scope,
his rifle
to get
scope.
the picture. Yeah, it was hysterical.
It was hysterical. It worked. I mean, we still got it. And I remember that when we got there that first trip, me and Josh went out to the other spot across the highway.
Right. Yeah.
And we went and set up a blind over there, and we kicked out 4 nice mule deer bucks. I'm like, I'd shoot any one of them. They were all nice. Like, I'm not saying they were all monsters, but they were all really nice mule deer.
Yeah.
And so then the next year we all got mule deer tags, and we're like, sweet, this is going to be awesome. And we don't see any mule deer at all.
Never seen a stinking mule.
We're like, what happened? I mean, and then for the last 6-7 years, we've hardly seen any. And then this was the first year we actually saw a couple mule deer worth that we like wanted to shoot, but it was rare.
Yeah. Well, we saw, I got that one last year.
That's right. And that was like the only one we saw last year.
I was hoping that thing was going to come down to you, though,
me and Kennedy.
Well, you guys had the camera and everything. That would have been pretty cool to see that on video.
I think I had my bow too. So
yeah, you were bow hunting.
It would have been, a 10 to 15 yard shot. I mean, it would have been cool. It was because he was only 50 yards behind me at one point.
Yeah, because he turned and he was going down towards you guys, and for some stupid reason, I don't know if he caught your scent or what, but he decided to, and he wasn't running. He just was moseying.
Well, he was with that doe.
Yeah.
I just remember it was funny because you texted me. You said there's a monster mule deer coming your way.
Oh, my
and
gosh.
I get that text. Kennedy's sleeping. And I'm just like, where? Because you didn't say like from what direction. You just said there's a monster mule deer coming your way. And I'm like, I have no clue where he's at. And I'm just looking everywhere, panicking, trying to get ready.
Well, it was weird because when I looked to the south of me and there was all these tall weeds, and all I saw was just this big arch.
Yeah.
And I had to look twice, and I thought, that's not normal. And then, he stuck his face through, and I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish you would have kept coming down. That would have been cool. It'd been exciting for Kenny to see that thing.
It would have been a lot of fun. It would have been hard to keep her quiet. Is what I think would have been the problem. Being that close, I think she'd have seen it. And she'd probably been like, "Oh!" She was already jacked when you shot. Like
I know.
When your gun went off, she got the shakes and she was shaking. And she was just going nuts. I'm like, "Oh, Papa just shot one." She's like, "No way."
That would have been. I think it's fun and when you can get it on video.
Oh yeah, that's always the goal. I mean, I love getting it on video.
Then you don't have to try to tell how the story went.
Right.
You see it.
That was the whole reason I've got a camera in the first place. Because when I shot that last buck that's hanging in my living room, I remember I was telling everybody the story, and like I'm telling them the story, and everybody's just kind of like, "Oh yeah, that's cool." And I'm just like, I don't think you understand how like cool this situation was and like how it worked out. And so that was when I was like, I really want to get a camera and start filming this stuff.
Well, I've thought about that, about getting some kind of a GoPro that would go onto my rifle.
Yeah, they make the mounts for them.
At least you'd see it.
Actually, I can do you one better. They make Tacticam, which is it's like a GoPro, but they've specifically made them for hunting.
Right.
And they've got a couple different models. They actually have them now where it attaches to your scope and films through your scope.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How does it do that?
I don't remember how the mount works. I can't remember which way it is, but like literally you can have it so it's literally filming through your scope and it doesn't hinder anything.
Wow, that'd be pretty cool.
A lot of people actually do it even with kids because you can have it running on your iPhone. So you can be watching it on your iPhone as it's recording.
Wow.
And so like if people are hunting with little kids and like they have the gun on like a tripod or something like that, they can see whether they're on the deer or not before they pull the trigger. Huh. So they can be like,
so dad can
help
make sure
so he knows whether they're actually looking like they're going to make a good shot or not.
Shooting at his leg.
Yeah, exactly. So I've actually seen videos of that. It's actually pretty cool, but otherwise you can get just like an attachment to where it just goes on your scope.
You know, that would probably be really good to have put it on Phil's gun. You could text him, you're not on him right, Phil. It'd be good for Tony too if he was like, oh my god.
Can you imagine that? That would have been hysterical.
Yeah. Or you could put it on Phil or on Josh and say, yeah, don't shoot it, it's a mule deer.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. I thought that's a pretty cool thing though that it just came out like a year or two ago. I think I remember seeing it.
It's by
Tacticam. You know like the cell cams that we use? It's the same company.
Okay.
They started out in those cameras first, those little action cams. Is what they started in. And
I just think it'd be fun, because I don't have a problem killing a deer, but I just think it's funner when you can.
Yeah.
Well, it's easier to tell the story.
Yeah, exactly. People see what happens.
Because everybody, I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
They always will exaggerate.
Everybody's going to exaggerate their story.
That deer was 500 yards away.
Yeah, I know.
Phil, that deer was only about 40.
It's the same with Tony. He was always
oh my gosh. You had to decipher Tony all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was a hoot. I remember the first time that he went with us when it was you, me, and I can't remember if it was Joey or not.
Pheasant hunting?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, that was you, me, Joey, and Joe, and Tony.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Tony was blocking that end.
Yeah.
And that rooster got up between you and Joey.
We're like 13.
Yeah. 15. And it's like it was young, and it couldn't get it wouldn't get any height.
Yeah.
And it was flying right at him.
It was flying like across, like right toward him, I remember.
And I don't remember where I was at, but I think I was on one side.
You were on one of the sides. Me and Joey were in the middle.
And I'm watching my brother, and he's got this look on his face because he sees you two raising your guns, and he starts yelling, "No!
Watch it!
No! Watch it!
Watch it!"
I just knew he was thinking he was going to get blasted.
He was ducking down.
Yeah.
And he had the easiest shot too, but he was ducking down.
He didn't even aim. He just pulled the trigger when the bird went by him. He was so scared. He thought for sure he's going to get pelted.
I know. That was so funny. And I remember that too because I remember like the bird getting up, and I remember pulling my gun up, and I remember I could see him. So I knew where he was.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, but obviously you see two kids pull their guns up.
Oh my gosh. And he had just painted that thing white. He had to have it look like a Russian shotgun.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so he couldn't miss the gun.
Right.
But man, he's just crouching. He's getting lower and lower, and I'm.
Yeah, we were all laughing pretty hard at that one.
Oh my gosh, he was.
Nobody got the bird either.
No. Well, flew right over him.
I remember like waiting longer because Tony was there, so I waited longer till it was past him, and then I just obviously missed. And
oh my gosh,
man.
I don't think he ever blocked again.
Yeah, he always wanted to be the blocker
know.
until then.
I think he realized that's not a safe
Yeah,
place
I
to
don't
be.
think I like that. Well, didn't you say your dad got shot by a shotgun when obviously you were super young or whatever?
Yeah, he was super young. They were. It was him and his brother, and back. This was back in the late '60s.
Yeah.
And in Minnesota, road hunting was legal.
Oh, back then, yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
And he was my Uncle Warren, again, not the smartest guy out there. But, when pheasant season started, man, everyone got all pumped up.
Oh, yeah.
And they were walking. They were on each side of the ditch, in a ditch. Around one, he's in one, and the other, my uncle's in the other one.
Yep.
And at that point, I was little. I was just in the car watching.
Yeah.
And the rooster, instead of flying,
Yep.
ran across the road.
Oh.
Well, my Uncle Warren just swung
and
and shot on the ground, which that's not legal.
Yeah.
And the stinking BBs hit the ground and ricocheted up and hit my dad in the head and the neck.
Oh, my gosh.
And so we get home, and my mom's with a tweezer pulling BBs out of him. And I'm just watching. I'm kind of amazed at it. And oh my gosh, they pulled out just a ton of BBs.
Oh, that sounds awful. Did Tony
He's
see
just
that happen?
fortunate. He's fortunate that it ricocheted.
Yeah, because had it hit him straight in the air,
Probably
probably
would have
killed him. Yeah.
Yeah, because they were only, the width of a road. I mean, probably, 30 feet, 40 feet. But yeah, it hit, the gravel went flying.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that, and I thought, and the bird, of course, died, but I didn't even think
About,
that he was even over there.
Right.
Other than I heard him yell, but I didn't know why.
Yeah.
Yeah, I almost shot my brother Tony one time, but it was early season.
Yeah.
And we had it was
it pheasant or deer?
a pheasant.
Okay.
My brother Steve had gotten married on that Saturday, and that was the opening day
Oh, yeah, I kind of remember you
of
telling me
an
that.
early season.
There used to be an early season?
Yeah, there used to be just a weekend.
Really?
If you weren't, it would be like a
was like a youth season?
Yeah, but
Okay.
it was. But you didn't have to have an adult. You could
Right.
just go out and so Tony and I went out, and we were walking, and a pheasant got up, and for some reason he kind of got ahead of me, and so I pulled up and started coming across, and I was just getting ready to shoot, and all of a sudden, just stinking red beanie showed up in my sight, and so I pulled up, and of course,
Yeah.
it would have been a bad deal.
Well, at least I guess he had a red beanie.
Oh my gosh, I'm telling you.
Might not have helped me because I might not have noticed it. Being colorblind.
Yeah, being colorblind, that might be an issue, but
Yeah, you might want the blaze orange if you're hunting with me.
oh, I know. That's why I always say, that's with Phil. He has a hard time staying in line, man. He's a goer.
It's like that with a lot of people. I mean,
Oh my gosh.
but yeah, I think wearing an orange hat is always a smart move.
Yeah. Well, when you have a dog, you don't have to be in a hurry.
Right. Yep.
You don't have to push him.
Yeah.
Just let the dog do the work.
I know that's the fun part. Is
Oh, it really is.
it's even funnier like with Tracker how many times like he goes on point when I can't see him and
Right.
then I'm like walking and I'm like where's he at? And then all of a sudden so I can't find him so I'm beeping his collar just to
Right.
find where he's at and I'll beep it and nothing moves so I know he's on point.
Yeah.
And so then I go find him and sure enough he's locked onto a bird.
I'm telling you. Thinking dogs, they got a nose. If they're a good dog, they'll hold them. And
Yeah.
that was what was interesting about you going with Ben.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And-
know.
He didn't. Because if you've never hunted with a dog, you're thinking, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But you don't realize those thinking animals, man, they got noses.
Well, and once you've hunted with a dog, hunting without a dog sucks.
Oh,
I did it the 1 year after Patch died.
yeah.
I remember I went out and I ended up going by myself because I didn't have anybody to go with. And I walked and I actually happened to shoot either one or two roosters. I don't remember.
Right.
Because I was walking is when we were hunting up by Wakefield in those public pieces. There was that one that was a pretty nice one right next to it. It used to be an old game preserve.
Right.
So I went and walked that one. And I remember I was walking, and as I was walking, all of a sudden I heard a rooster, and I looked over and I saw this rooster fly and land not too far from me.
Right.
I was like, sweet, I guess I know there's a bird. So I go marching over there. Bird got up, shot it, and could not find it anywhere at all. And, I mean, that stuff was that tall, thick
That's
stuff.
the worst part.
And not having a dog. And I looked forever, couldn't find it. And I was like, oh, this sucks. And then I just started walking again. And I was walking back towards the truck and flushed another bird up, shot that one. again, still could not find it anywhere. Just
Right.
looking all over the place, and it's just hundreds. And then you're just walking aimlessly, like, which is not bad if you have a bunch of people.
Right.
But if you're by yourself or just two people, if you don't have a dog, you're not covering that much area.
No.
And so it's just.
And the grass, they blend right in.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
especially a quail.
Oh, yeah.
That's even worse.
Yeah, we had trouble finding one or two of those this year when we shot all those. Not all the squirrel, but we shot a couple of them, and they blend right in with the grass.
They switched the grass, when they started going to that brome. It's so thick.
Yeah.
It's not that thin switch type grass.
Yeah.
It's thick, and then they hit the ground and they just blend right into it.
Yeah.
So now, it's much easier to find a deer.
Was the grass a lot better back when you hunted back
Oh
then?
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, we never had brome.
Okay.
They didn't start that till they started doing the set aside program.
It's like CRP stuff.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about this too. I remember you telling me one time that you used to hunt like off of like 132nd and Center.
Yeah.
Like it's so weird in Omaha now.
Yeah.
It's like you think about how much it's grown.
114th and 114th was city limit.
Yeah, which is crazy, and because then it makes you think about like how much hunting habitat was lost.
Yeah.
Like for the city to grow, which I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but like you think of how much more habitat there was for deer and for pheasant and everything.
Well, they just switched how they did everything, and is it better? I don't think so. I mean, it may be better for the farmer today.
Yeah.
But it's not better for the habitat. Years ago, the farmer never turned his field over in the winter.
Right.
They left it all.
Yeah.
Whether it was milo or corn or beans, they didn't. But then they started saying, oh, if you turn it over, you'll keep that fertilizer that's on the top of the soil.
Yeah.
You'll keep it till next spring.
Gotcha.
Well, they started turning fields over. Well, pheasants and quail, they got to have that. They got to be able to hide. Otherwise, the coyotes will just ravage them. And
oh, yeah.
so you pushed all the game birds that got pushed to the windrows, the ditches, the draws. There was no open field.
Right, just didn't have the big field of habitat anymore. Yeah, I mean it makes sense.
Yeah,
because you guys and back then, because was there even like a public land like CRP,
Nope.
or you guys didn't you just drive around knocking on doors?
You just asked farmers and they would let you hunt.
Yeah,
I mean, no, it wasn't big business back then.
Right.
Nebraska had a great pheasant program. I mean, shoot, you could hunt from the first day till the last day and shoot birds all the time.
Right.
Then they got rid of the pheasant program, and there's just not that many birds anymore.
Yeah.
And they don't, they keep saying like Pheasants Forever is helping. Well, they're buying up land, but they're not putting birds in it.
Right.
And the few they put in, there's just too much pressure.
Right.
And people don't realize when you hunt that field. Let's just say that field has 20 birds in it.
Yeah.
Well, you hunt that field week after week after week.
Yeah.
Those birds don't come back once you've killed them.
Yeah.
If you kill 20 birds, there's no birds left.
Yeah.
But back in that day, I mean, you'd have 100 birds in that field.
Yeah.
And, farmers always complain, they eat all of our grain. Well, they really don't.
No.
But
the deer do more damage.
I just think what they didn't realize is how that crushes your rural economy.
Right.
Because, you got all those rich people and people with money and hunters that love to hunt. Well, they're going to the hotels in those little towns, the gas stations, the restaurants.
Yep.
The farmer doesn't see the almighty dollar.
Right.
But the rural community does, and it doesn't dry up and become a ghost town.
Yeah, I mean, it keeps businesses alive in the small towns.
Absolutely.
So you keep those restaurants that you have.
We used to go to a place called Ray's Cafe that was between Wahoo and Brainerd.
Oh, really?
And when the pheasant season came, man, wasn't really a truck stop. It was a gas station restaurant, and they would have in the morning, Saturday and Sunday, they would have buffets for the pheasant hunters.
Oh,
nice. And you're talking 50 to 100 people in there.
Wow.
From 4 o'clock till 6:30, right before sunrise, 6:37.
Yeah.
Eating and spending money.
Yeah.
Well, I went out there. I don't know. It was probably about 1980 when they quit that program. Ray's was still there. You still had some people there, but by 85 there was nobody there.
Right.
And by 90, Ray's was gone.
Yeah.
Well, I can only attribute to one thing. You got rid of the pheasant program.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, obviously, I don't know how it is now compared to back then, but like, I don't think most pheasant hunters go out every weekend
No.
in this era.
No.
Well, I remember you said you guys used to go out like
Every weekend.
Like that was
Every weekend.
yeah. So nowadays it's like even myself, like, and part of that's because I'm usually so focused on deer, but like
Right.
when I was younger, we used to go out at least a few times a year, you know.
Right.
And now I'm like once or twice a year.
Well,
if
you know,
that.
we didn't have to go that far.
Yeah.
Now
That's the
for us
thing
to
for us,
do any
yeah.
good pheasant hunting, we drive 3.5 hours down to our property down
Yeah.
by McCook.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we used to have, Tony would make charts every year, and there was probably 10 of us,
Yeah.
you know, as our friends and neighbors that all went with it, all high school kids.
Yeah.
But, you know, he'd keep stats every year, and they would keep the longest tail feather.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, at the end of the year, you'd see like Tony shot 27 birds,
Yeah.
and I would shot 24 or 25 birds, and Leroy would shoot 15. I mean, so you'd see out of all of us, we'd kill a couple hundred birds.
Yeah.
Shoot, how many do you see nowadays?
Shoot. I'd be lucky if I killed 10 in a year.
They just did away with a great program, and sure, I'll be honest. Well, Tony and I used to say it all the time because
Yeah.
we were devoted hunters.
Mm-hmm.
Opening weekend, that was all the stupid birds.
Yeah.
Literally, you could turn down a road and there'd be pheasants on the road.
Yeah.
Now, granted, they'd let them all go,
Yeah.
and so yeah, you'd have stupid birds.
Yeah.
But then the farmers started complaining, too many people out on their land, and I get that, but
Yeah.
you know, they only lasted for the first couple weeks.
Right.
And then
yeah.
most of those guys, most of them would be out of towners. They moved on.
Yep.
You know, we'd get people from Florida and Tennessee, and you'd get a lot of southern people.
Mm-hmm.
You'd never get them from the north, but
Yeah. I mean, because they got birds. up
Minnesota
there,
and South Dakota had a ton of birds. Iowa had a ton of birds.
Yeah.
Never got, but you always you'd see Florida plates and Tennessee plates,
Mm-hmm.
and you'd see a few Missouri plates, not many, because they had birds too. But
Yeah.
yeah, and then after those couple weeks,
Yeah.
they're done hunting Nebraska.
Right. So
Then they move on to South Dakota.
Yeah.
They go to all the opening days,
Oh, sure.
and you know, and I don't blame them. They
Yeah.
want to shoot birds.
Well, that's not a bad thing because then you're not completely decimating one area.
Right.
So like for an out of towner especially, I mean that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean obviously South Dakota, was it just as big back then with bird hunting as it
Oh
was?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nebraska was the biggest at that time.
Really?
And Iowa was number 2, and South Dakota was number 3.
Really?
It was interesting because, and we opened first, then it would be Iowa, and then it'd be South Dakota. And I didn't even hunt Iowa until my brother-in-law moved to Iowa.
Oh, yeah.
And then I started hunting Iowa just because, you know, he always wanted me to come out. And,
Yeah.
But, and they had a lot of birds too, but Nebraska had, and just a ton of birds. I mean, it'd be interesting to go back to the towns where the few people are still there
Yeah.
and just ask them about their revenue, how it changed.
Yeah. If you had some people that have owned it for however long.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what they've done that they've changed now. And so, because back then, man,
Yeah.
you know, their places were nice. And every year you'd go there, they had done something new.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like when we used to deer hunt up in by Napier, we would stay at it was called not Springview, but it was a Spencer. We'd stay
Oh,
at Spencer,
Spencer, yeah.
Nebraska,
Yeah.
and there was a hotel there.
Yeah.
And we would stay there, and then we'd drive the 12 miles where we used to hunt, and it was a nice hotel. And every year, it seemed like they were always up doing, and every room was booked.
Yeah.
And then as it got later,
Mm-hmm.
it's like less and less rooms would be booked, and then of course then we would start staying at the farmer's property. But
Sure.
you know, I just think everything is like that. You know, the greed I think gets to everybody,
Yeah.
and you know, in Nebraska, I'm sorry, but I don't agree with the guy that's running things. They're more into turkey
Yeah.
because they make more money. I
Yeah.
get that,
Yeah.
but not everybody wants to hunt turkey every weekend.
Right.
And so that hunter, sure, he's going to go out and spend $300-400 for that one weekend to hunt turkey.
Yep.
What happens the rest of the year? Well, I'd rather him spend $80 to $100 a week
Yeah.
hunting pheasants
Yeah.
every weekend, you know, for 12 weeks, 14 weeks.
Yep.
That adds up. Now,
Yeah, well, and I mean, you got to think too, like people are stopping at gas stations, getting gas, getting snacks, drinks, and then stopping someone for breakfast and lunch a lot of times.
Oh yeah, because you're working, you're putting a lot of energy and you're working a lot of fields, and so you burn a lot. But yeah, we used to do it, and then out of staters, they're going to stay the whole weekend. Out of staters would usually come in on Friday, and they would usually stay until Monday.
Yeah,
so they would hunt 3 days.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But for us, we would go out twice a weekend. We would hunt Saturday and we would hunt Sunday. We'd drive 35, 40 miles.
Yeah.
And, and it was fun because when you're young, everybody's pitching in.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, how much is it? Oh, everyone, you got to pitch in $5 for gas.
Yeah.
And, of course, everybody complains, $5 for But, so we did that, and so, we pool all our money so we could make sure we had enough gas to get there and back.
Yeah.
And that's back when, back then the road hunting was still legal.
Yeah.
But you had to be 30 feet off the road to shoot.
Right. Yeah, you have to be 30 feet
fence
off
line.
of
Usually
off the center center line, I think, or
That'd
something
be
like that.
pretty close to the fence line that you had.
Yeah.
And, but it was still legal back then. And then, of course, they kept changing it. But, we did that every weekend. Then we always had our favorite stops. We're in Wahoo. We were stopping at that ice cream burger joint, or Brainerd. We're out stopping at that. We'd always stop at these ice cream burgers. But we did it every week.
Yeah.
Every weekend. And so you're calling everybody, and these guys are hunting these days. These guys are hunting that day. But Tony and I, we went almost every weekend.
Yeah.
Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
Now, shoot, I don't even think I hunted pheasant for the last.
Did you hunt last year?
I don't think so. I don't
See,
think
I know this year you didn't, but I can't remember if we went out once last year or not.
I think you guys did.
I think me and Teddy did. I think we actually went around here over by Schuyler. Yeah. I don't even know if we hunted out west last year.
I haven't hunted for
it might have been 2 years ago.
2 years.
You and I and Teddy went out.
Yeah.
Out there.
Yeah, because then I was just blocking.
Yeah.
But I haven't been out.
Well, anymore, I pretty much, because most of the time I bird hunt anymore, it's usually with 2 or 3, maybe 4 guys. I'm lucky. So I pretty much find all the smaller fields and just try and hit those small ones.
And
the dog's getting older, so it's like he's not going to go as hard, as long. Or he'll go hard, but then I feel like he's going to die. So
You'll run out of gas. You'll start following you like Patch did.
Yeah.
Starts out good in the morning, but by noon, man.
Yeah.
He's just walking behind me.
Yeah.
And we got a great place where we're at. We could hunt pheasant a lot out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if we've ever gone out on opening day out there.
Well, I went out with all those guys a couple years ago, remember?
When the dog got skunked.
Yeah, got sprayed by the skunk. Yeah. We went opening day, and we hunted the first field. And I bet what's crazy is we probably flushed 60 birds out of there, but 90% of them were hens. Right. And we only had a shot at like 2 or 3 roosters, and I think we ended up with 1 or 2. But after that, I mean, every other field we went to, there was hunters in it. Yeah. And there's a lot of public land out there.
Yes.
But we literally just went to all of them, and there was always somebody there. And
but
so,
it's because they know there's birds out there.
Yeah.
And there's quail.
Yeah. And that is, I've said that before. I think that is the best place to bird hunt in Nebraska is southwest Nebraska. I mean, there's a lot of public land, and obviously if you have private land access, even that's great too.
Although we don't hunt the private land because we don't want the deer to be screwed up.
Yeah, that's the
that's the downside.
That's the hard part. Me and Teddy always talk about it because I was like, if we could just both kill a deer before bird season, then we could actually go out and just go bird hunt and hunt all this stuff and not even care. But
that's why I said you should do it with a bow. Shoot a bird with a bow.
I've seen it done. I've seen the videos of it.
Because that one draw that I usually set at, man, there are stinking pheasants everywhere.
I can barely hit a deer with a bow. You think I'm going to hit a flying bird?
It'd be fun to watch.
Jake would probably have the best chance at it because he can shoot a recurve. Like he's really good.
Yeah, you need something that you can pull quick.
Right, and I don't have one, but he's an incredible recurve shooter. So I bet he could potentially do it.
Although, you could do it with yours because if your dog puts them on point, you don't have to worry about the initial startle.
Yeah.
You know what's coming up.
Yeah. And, I feel like, I mean, you'd have a chance, but I still feel like you have a better chance with a recurve because recurve shooters, they shoot off instinct.
Right.
It's quick.
They don't shoot by a sight.
Yeah, they're not going by sight. It's just quick pull and get your spot, and that's why I think they're better at it.
Yeah, because you only got about 40 yards.
Yeah.
And once that flu arrow, she fluffs out, she's coming down.
Yeah, trying to hit one at 40 yards in general would be insane.
No, but I'm saying that's all you have. So when it takes off, And they move quick.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, we, Tony always wanted to, and I said, dude, you can't hit anything in the first place.
I don't think he killed many deer with a bow.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe
He
I
always
got
wanted
too much
to do
Tony
that.
in me with a bow.
He always wanted to. I said, dude, every time you shoot a pheasant with a shotgun, it's usually about the third shot that you hit him. you only get one shot with a bow.
You know, it was funny. I remember when I was a kid, it was probably not one of the first times, but I think I was only like 7 or 8, and we went out, and we went out by Wahoo, and we were pheasant hunting out there with Tony and you, and I think there was 1 or 2 other people. I don't remember who it was, but I was the only kid. But I remember a stinking bird gets up, and you're like, hen, and boom!
Oh, yes.
Tony stinking blasts it. You're like, I said hen.
Well,
he's like, no, it's a rooster.
It's always the policy, man.
Well, then this year, when we went bird hunting this one time, we're walking, bird gets up. I'm like, hen! I see Phil pull his gun up. I'm like, hen! Boom! I'm like, hen! I'm screaming hen. Luckily, he missed. I'm just screaming. He's like, what? Because for him, I kind of understood it because it got up like in the sun.
Yeah.
So he couldn't.
That's why you got to listen.
Yeah, but I'm screaming hen. He's taking shot
gosh.
and missed, fortunately, but I was just like, oh, no.
Yeah. That one that Tony shot, man. I remember that thing got up and I yelled hen and boom!
It was the fastest shot I think I've ever seen from Tony.
And he goes, I got him. We start walking up. I said, dude, it's a hen. Oh, no, it's a rooster. I said, no, it's a hen.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's a rooster. No.
Yeah.
Almost. And sure enough, it was a hen.
Yeah.
He's like, what do we do? I said, we're just going to leave it right here.
It's going to be coyote food this time.
Oh, my gosh. He was a treat. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, he was always full of entertainment.
Yeah.
Good or bad, it was always entertaining.
Yep.
Sometimes not good, but
It was never going to be dull.
nope.
It's like the time that it might have been that first year we hunted up in Springview when that year I got sick.
Oh, gosh.
We drove up. It was opening night before, or it was opening day before opening day or whatever, and we hadn't hunted up there yet, so it was the first time going to this new area. Obviously, I'm super pumped, and I got sick that night, and was like, no, I'll be fine. I'm gonna go. And I remember I was so sick, but I was just like, no, I'm going. And we drove all the way up there, and I had strep throat so bad, and ended up driving halfway back, and Mom
Called your
met us.
mother.
Yep. She came and met halfway, picked me up, took me back to go to the doctor. And I remember that was the first year that you got or maybe it was the second year, but you had the pop-up blind.
Yeah.
And you were
Single man, yep.
Yeah, you were sitting in the pop-up blind, and Tony, you were like, you want to just come sit with me? He's like, nah, I'm gonna go down in the forest. And I remember he walked in the dark, and he walked in the dark in a place he's never been.
No, I know.
It's just a thick forest, and it's canyony up there. And he finds this big old cottonwood, he said, and he sits down.
Yep.
Sits down right there. He's like, yeah, this will work, in the dark. And he said the sun starts coming up. And he looks behind him, and he's sitting at like the top of the tree, and he was literally like 3 feet away from a 30-foot cliff.
I'm telling you.
He walks in, no light, no nothing.
No.
Oh, man.
No. And
then it snowed all morning.
yeah, well, that's why I took the pop-up. I
Yeah.
said, because they're talking snow or sleet. And he's like, oh, no, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was probably 9:30 or 10 o'clock, and I'm sitting there. I got coffee and frozen chocolate donuts, and I'm just enjoying life. And all of a sudden, I seen this movement down there, and here he comes, and he's just soaked to the bone because it had rained and sleeted, and I'm in there bone dry, and he's just colder and cold, you
Yeah.
know. He's like, I'm going to the truck. I said, man,
Okay.
probably should have gotten the tent with me this morning. Oh my gosh, he was just a hoot.
Yeah.
He was. Yeah, I do miss the comedy that I had with him.
Oh, yeah.
I could pull his trigger all the time, man. He'd do some of the dumbest things. Oh my gosh, that was Tony.
Yep. But he's always good for entertainment.
It was. He was definitely never afraid to venture.
No. Yeah, he was very happy to.
We
Try
were,
whatever.
and that's what we were. We were closest in age, and we did everything together.
Yep.
And the only thing I wouldn't do with him, and we did a lot of stuff, was he always wanted to go grizzly bear hunt.
Oh, gosh. That would have been a nightmare. He'd have been dead.
And I told him, I said, I will never do that. He's like, why not? I said, well, for starters, my job will be to keep you alive.
Yeah.
because you ain't going to hit the broadside of a barn. Yeah. Oh, I got a 300 mag. I said, yeah, you can't even shoot a deer at 50 yards. You got a charging bear. It'll be my job to keep you alive. I said, I won't do that. I'd never had a desire to hunt bear.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to eat it, and I definitely don't want to keep someone alive because of it.
Yeah, I don't really have much of a desire to hunt bear. I mean, obviously, I went bear hunting with Jake, which was actually, it was fun. Black bear was fun.
Yeah.
I would do black bear. Grizzly bear, I just don't really have the desire to do it. I want to go to that area because I would love to moose hunt. Like, I'd love to go moose hunt in Alaska, and obviously there's going to be grizzlies around. But if I'm doing it, I'm going with a guide and like all that stuff. Like, I'm not taking any risks when it comes to that.
I don't want to get ate.
No. There's some big bear out there.
Oh, my gosh.
And the problem is a lot of those areas, just from me watching videos on like YouTube and stuff, like other people's hunts, is a lot of times you can't even see these bears because they're in these areas where like it's pretty tall and thick, so you're walking through it and you have no idea if all of a sudden you're literally going to be on top of a bear.
And what you find out sometimes is they're actually hunting you.
Yeah.
They smell you.
Yeah, they know you're there. And that's the thing. And I remember that was the thing when we were black bear hunting. The guy was talking about like their scent, like is like their nose is like 5 times stronger than like a bloodhound.
Right.
Like they have incredible smell.
Yeah, I was talking to a guy yesterday actually that has black bear. He lived in Colorado. And he said one of the things you always know is you can always tell when there's a bear around. He said they stink like no tomorrow.
Yeah.
And he had his Jeep topper off because of summer.
Yeah.
And he got in his Jeep and he said it just dying. And he says, there's a stinking bear in here. And he looked around, he started seeing black fur everywhere. It had bedded down in the back seat.
Sure. That sucks.
But he says, they just
I have heard that. Like, I didn't notice it. Obviously, we didn't end up killing one, so.
Right.
But I remember them saying that, too. Like, they just smell because they're just, I mean, they're in everything.
Yeah,
like,
and they just roll in stuff and carcasses. And they ain't taking a shower.
No, they ain't.
But, really, it's a great defense.
Yeah.
Not so much that they need it, but it keeps other animals from falling into them. They smell them early on, like the caribou and the animals up there. They can smell them because I know that I watched a show one time where there's Alaska trooper said there's bear, and it's like, how do you know? He says I can smell them.
Yeah.
So I mean, it'd make you a little nervous.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when we were black bear hunting, and the guy said that he's only had one incident of a hunter getting attacked by a bear up there.
Right.
Because they were very strict on what they did. They're like, you don't ever get out of the stand, like, because they gave us a two-way radio, and they said
once they put you in there,
they walk you to the stand, and then you get in the stand. He does the bait. He walks out. He's like, you shoot one, you don't get out. You radio us. We come out, and we go find the bear first.
Sure.
And he said he had one guy, and this was what was interesting about it. He had this guy from, I think he was from Alaska, and we were hunting in Canada, and this guy was a grizzly bear guide.
Wow.
So he did guided grizzly bear hunts, but he came down here to kill a black bear. Well, this guy thought he was the big show.
Right.
And so guy shot a bear. And
bow or rifle?
I don't remember which it was. I think it was bow, but I don't remember. But he shot a black bear.
Right.
Didn't radio back, just got out, decided he was going to go track it himself because, he's the big bad grizzly bear hunter.
Right.
Well, what they said is the bears, for the most part, are not going to attack you unless they are injured.
Right.
Because then they're in fight or flight mode.
Right.
Well, he had shot this bear that
injured
he thought he made a good shot, but obviously he was still alive when he found it, and this bear mauled the crap out of him.
Ugh.
Didn't kill him, but just mauled him up.
Sure.
And so then I think the guy either lost the radio or something. I don't know, but he said the guy ended up basically walking to the road after the bear finally left or whatever. Guy walks to the road and is walking along the highway trying to find somebody to pick him up. And he's like, nobody wanted to pick him up because this guy's walking along the road and he's just this bloody, stinking, cut up mess. He looks like a nightmare. So he's like terrifying. Sure, somebody finally stopped, and he had to go get hundreds of stitches and just an absolute nightmare case. But
I think if they tell me to stay in the stand, I stay in the stand.
Yeah, that's what we did. Because walking in wasn't bad because we only hunted evenings, so you're walking in daylight. But then at nighttime, even when they come get you and you're walking out in the dark, you got a little pep in your step.
Well, you don't know the terrain.
Well, the thing that they said is, like, pretty much when you're out there, they're like, for the most part, all those bear are probably within 100 to 150 yards of you the whole time. They just aren't coming in.
Right. They just stay away
Because
from you.
yeah, and they come in because they can smell you. He's like, they can smell you. They know you're there. So whenever they do come into the bait, they'll kind of come in, and this happened to us multiple times. They come in, and they just kind of make a quick pass through, and then sometimes that's when they'll come back again. They're trying to get comfortable to see if if they're good to go or if they're not.
Right.
But he's like, for the most part, they're pretty close to you all the time. So he's like, even when you're walking out, you got to think like they're not that far from you.
Yeah.
But they're scared of you just as much as you're scared of them for the most part. Like, unless they're injured or something like that, they're not going to attack you. But I don't know.
I just do not find out.
He did say he had one other guy that had one climb up the tree at him, and the guy I think he was shooting a recurve or something like that. And he said it was climbing up the tree, and the guy was like, well, kind of waiting, like, what do I do? What do I do? Like, and the bear finally just got a little too close, and he just pulled back and shot it right in the stinking face.
Oh, really?
Killed it, yeah.
Wow.
Because it finally was getting a little too close for comfort for him, and
that would make me nervous.
he's stinking putting an arrow right through its mouth or face, whatever. Yeah.
My cousin went up there. Him and his brother went up to Canada to fish.
Yeah.
On one of those lakes.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing. They just said when you catch your fish, the cleaning station was like 100 yards away from the cabin.
Yep.
And you clean them, and then they have a box that you pull them up in the tree and keep them there.
Yeah.
Well, they had just about got done cleaning them when they heard this thrashing behind them.
Mm-hmm.
And my cousin said, all I remember was the water was cold. They
They
went out in the water, swam all the way down, and came back to the cabin. And they said, yeah, after that, we never went there at night. But, they just didn't think.
Yeah.
But holy buckets, that would be cold.
Yeah. Yeah, me and Jake, I remember, because we were there, obviously, end of summer, so it was, and it ended up hitting a super hot streak for that time of year, which it was hot.
Right.
We didn't have any air conditioning or like that in the cabins, and so you're kind of sticky, at night, and even if you shower or whatnot. But I remember we were talking with the guide, and he's like, best thing you can do, he's like, we do this a lot of times, is go jump in the lake right before you go to bed.
Down,
And so one night me and Jake did that, and we went down and jumped in. It felt great, but it was funny. I remember we were in the water, and I don't know if I was just seeing things or what, but I swear I saw just a big old northern like in the water not far from us.
That's possible.
I caught that one that was in there. That was, he was 38 inches or something like that.
They don't get a lot of pressure up there. There's a lot of fish in those
Well, that's what
waters.
was crazy about that place was it was a 5,000 acre lake. So imagine like Big Pine where we go fishing.
Big lake.
But this one was kind of weird because there was a lot of fingers and stuff, a lot of coves, but they're the only access to the lake.
Right.
There's nothing else on that lake. There's no houses, no nothing, no boat ramps. The only way to get to that lake is through their property. So unless they give you permission, nobody gets to fish it.
So they probably maybe get 100, 150 people a year that go on there for a day maybe.
Yeah, they do like guided fishing.
Yeah,
so
but I'm just saying they're not doing...
It's not open to the public where anybody can just go fish it. So
thousands of people there all the time, day and night.
So it's just full of fish. They had obviously northerns. They had lake trout, I think he said.
Oh, I'll bet.
Yeah, and he said they didn't have much for walleye in it, but there's other lakes around that have a lot of walleye.
Yeah.
That lake specifically just
up north, they have a lot more of those. Like they have the smallmouth bass.
Yeah.
A lot of northern muskie.
They had smallmouth. I did catch one of those.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
And,
that was the first smallmouth that I caught.
Yeah.
So
they carry, but they have a lot of muskie up there.
Yeah. Yep.
They don't have a lot of smaller fish like
No.
crappie. And,
yeah. Everybody's going up there for the big fish for the most part.
So,
I saw somebody the other day, I'm pretty sure caught the world record muskie on Mille Lacs.
Really?
Yeah, I can't remember what the length was, but they said it was the new world record.
Ice fishing?
Yeah, I think it was, or maybe it was, I had seen it before the ice started.
Okay.
I can't remember. It was one of it might have been ice because I think it was only a couple weeks ago when I saw it, unless it like just got confirmed. But it was huge. I was just stinking. I don't remember even how long
big,
it was.
man.
I think it was like, I want to say it was like 70 something inches or something. I don't remember, but
I've seen a few videos where it shows the guy catching a big muskie and then another one coming up and grabbing onto him.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
Holy buckets!
That's crazy.
Yeah, no, I haven't. I've never caught a muskie. I've caught a lot of northern, but never a muskie.
Yeah, I've never put in the time to try and catch muskie. For the most part, they always say it's a fish of what, 10,000 casts or something like
Yeah,
that.
and it's more of a late fall fish.
Yeah,
It's
that's the
usually
thing. You got to go at the right
water's
times.
got to cool down.
Yeah. And
That's
you got
when-
to be in a lake that has muskie too.
Right. And that's when they're the most active.
Yeah.
That or in the rivers, late fall.
Right.
You know, a lot of times they'll even catch them after the ice begins to form on the rivers,
Yeah.
where they can still get in
Yeah.
a boat.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're a cold fish. They feed when it's getting cold. In the summer, they're deep.
Yeah, they're deep, deep.
So are the big northerners, though,
Yeah.
most of them. So
So yeah, same with the walleyes too. For the most
Yep.
part, they all go deep when it's
yeah,
hot like that.
but they'll at least the walleye will come up and eat in the evening. Where
yeah,
those big northerners, they don't tend to come up very often. Or musky, they
yeah.
got a lot of fish down in deep water.
Oh yeah.
I remember a time we were hunting pheasant
Mm-hmm.
with my brother Steve. We used to have, there's 5 of us that went.
Mm-hmm.
Tony, Steve, Jeff, Davy Jones, and me.
Yeah.
And he broke his leg.
Who?
Steve.
Okay.
And back in that day, you didn't get fiberglass casts.
Yeah.
You got the old plaster cast.
Oh yeah.
And they gave you the big rubber knob on the bottom of it. Well, he tried to wrap it all up in plastic and hunt.
Jeez.
By the end of the day,
Yeah.
the bottom was gone.
Oh jeez.
It was his foot
Oh
because of the water.
yeah.
It just,
Oh yeah.
oh my gosh, it was so hysterical. It was so hysterical. He's still wrapped in plastic, but he had
Yeah.
no bottom to that cast.
That's funny.
Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, we used to do some crazy things.
Did you guys ever have like? Obviously, you said Tony always wanted to go grizzly bear hunting. Did you ever have any sort of like hunt or animal that you always wanted to go chase?
You know, I've always wanted to go. I always thought elk hunting would be fun,
Yeah.
but I just love deer hunting. I
Yeah.
really do.
Yeah.
I love the way they move.
Yeah.
They're unpredictable, but yet they're always going to be in the area.
Yeah.
You know, muleys are a different breed because they don't travel,
Well, they travel quite a bit,
but they lounge.
they stay in a spot for a while, but then
Yeah.
eventually they move. Like
If
they'll-
they get into a draw, they'll
Yeah.
be there for
yeah,
days.
for
Sometimes.
sure. Yeah, I mean, obviously,
Whitetail.
we saw that this year, even where we were at. Like
Right.
we had those muleys in that draw for quite a while.
Yeah, but whitetails, they're always on the go.
Yeah.
Always on the go. Yeah, when we hunted the sandhills that one time, that guy had to take off in his airplane,
Mm-hmm.
fly over his 20,000 acre farm
Yeah.
ranch, find the deer, come back, get us, put us in the back of a pickup,
Yeah.
and then he took us to where they were over the hill.
Yeah.
And but yeah, they just hang sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, not whitetail. Whitetail are always on the go.
Well, and it's hard with like, for the most part, a lot of times mule deer aren't in like the thickest cover. Like you
No.
can find them in the open a
No,
lot of
they're in
times.
the wide open as a rule.
Where whitetail, I mean, they're pretty smart. They
Mm.
stay in the cover. Like that's why I always say
Right.
with people about like antelope hunting. Like, you know, obviously a lot of people don't care about antelope hunting. I'm
Right.
like, I get that because I think obviously hunting like the rack of a deer is a lot more fun if you're going
Yes.
for big animals and stuff. But antelope is fun because you can find them. It's just a
Right.
matter of killing them.
It's getting close enough
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah. It's changing colors on me.
Huh?
It just changed like, yeah,
Oh.
I don't know. It's been doing that the whole time.
No, I thought it was always blue. Now you're rolling.
All right.
Now you got green.
We got a gay pride flag. But yeah, I mean whitetail, yeah, they're hard. I mean, but antelope, like, it's
Well,
fun. Antelope, like I said, antelope's fun because you can see them. It's just they're hard to kill, obviously, because especially with a bow. Like,
Oh yeah,
I still think with a rifle, I mean, you could kill an antelope pretty easily,
right.
but with a bow, it's real hard. But you at least can find them.
Yeah, it's finding the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
I know Teddy's uncle.
Yeah,
They used to hunt them religiously, him and his
Yeah.
dad, and they'd go out for 2 weeks at a time, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they came back with them, sometimes,
Yeah.
but they were always after the big horns.
right. They were going for the big ones.
Yeah, I remember the one time they went deer hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, it was so funny. Here, when they came back, Harold was so beside himself.
Yeah,
He shot this big stinking, it was a whitetail, big 6-pointer.
oh yeah.
And when he came up to it, the
Yeah.
other side was gone.
Oh, it only had half its rack.
Well, when it took off, it must have broke off or did something.
Really?
But he only had half a rack. Oh my gosh, he was so mad.
He couldn't find the other half.
No, and he, because it ran quite a ways.
Oh, sure.
But he's all about the horns.
Yeah.
And and I told him, I said, well, you could have it probably synthetically made.
That's what they do now.
No, that's not Harold.
Yeah. Well, even Jake and Ben were telling Teddy this year because Teddy's deer had the 2 broken points on it.
Right.
And they're like, you should have them remake those
Yeah.
points because we had trail camera pictures of it, so like you could see essentially what they look like and whatnot.
Probably got broke off when they were fighting.
Yeah, because I want to say we might have had one picture where it had all of its antlers, and I know we had one picture where it had one of them broke off, but still had the other one. But then I think that was the last picture we had of it, and then
Part of the fight.
oh yeah. I want to know what deer he was fighting this year. That's what I'm curious to know. But I don't know where he came from.
Yeah,
That's
I suppose,
the hard part.
and it could have been from a big scrape. He might have been scraping and twisted, and it just snapped off. And
Yeah.
it's hard telling.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? But yeah, he was a good deer though this year. But yeah, I mean it's.
Yeah, I was sad last year when you guys lost that one with the twin brow tines on each side.
I know.
I mean, we got the rack.
Yeah. I look at it every time we're out there, and every time I look at it, I'm just like, gosh, dang it, that makes me so mad.
Yeah, well, it's just weird.
It's just, I think it was EHD. I mean, obviously. It just sucks because I remember going out there, and because I went out in August and went out to check cameras, move cameras, obviously.
Right.
And I just remember I'm walking, and all of a sudden I could smell like something dead.
Yeah.
And it was just, I remember I was like, something's dead around here. And all of a sudden I noticed I saw a buzzard flying over, and then I took like 2 more steps and looked down, and stinking dead deer right in front of me scared the crap out of me. I'd go jumping back, and because I had no clue. And all of a sudden, right after that, I look at it, I just go no, because I knew exactly what deer it was the second I saw it, and I was like, oh, it was so heartbreaking. I was so mad. And then I remember checking. We had one camera over there that wasn't a cell camera, and I checked that card, and it had a ton of pictures of him on it, like in that spot. Routine. I had a picture of him like the day or 2 before that in that same spot, so like he was still alive.
Yeah.
So I knew he had just died.
Yeah, talking about that makes me think of a story with Tony.
Oh yeah.
We were hunting, and again, he was one of those guys. I'm going to go out in the morning when it's dark, and I'm just going to go until I find my spot.
Yeah.
And we were up in Napier, and we were down on Marvin's land, and we were along the Niobrara River, and he comes back, and he kind of stinks a little bit, and I'm thinking, what the heck?
Yeah.
And he's like, you won't believe what happened. I said, well, what? He said, man, I found this spot, and I crawled in there, and it was under a pine tree, and I was all good, and sun came up, and I looked over. I was sitting on a dead deer carcass. I said, what? He's like, yeah. I said, don't you use a flashlight? No, I just climb in there. I'm like, dude, who in their right mind walks in the dark, in the forest, and just says, this is a good place?
Yeah.
That was Tony.
Oh my gosh.
Stinking sitting on top of a dead deer carcass. It was hysterical. We went back and looked at it, and sure enough, it was the doe carcass.
Yeah. How did you not notice when you crawl on top of it?
He's in the dark.
Still, but you would think you'd feel or smell something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not Tony.
Yeah.
Cold. It was cold.
That's true if it's cold, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just like, dude, you don't walk in the dark with no flashlight.
Well, that's like, I remember, didn't you say one time, like, you went out in the dark and you took, like, a bunch of boards and nails and a hammer and hammering steps into a tree so you get up in a tree? Like, nowadays, like, you look at, like, all the stuff that we have, like, technology-wise as far as, like, for climbing trees and stuff, and you're out there with a hammer and nails and boards to
it
climb
was a screw gun.
Screw
It was
gun.
a Makita screw gun.
Running a screw gun.
In the dark. But what I didn't think about, you know, I took out, I don't remember how many, I probably had 20 2x4 pieces with me, and I already pre-drilled, 4-inch screws, so I was going to get plenty of meat.
Yeah.
And so I'm screwing them in as I'm going up the tree, and I've tied my rifle with a string so I can pull it up because I figured once I get to the top, I'm just staying.
Yeah.
Well, I finally got up there, and it was dark. I mean, I had light, but it's still dark.
Yeah.
And I get done, and I'm sitting there, And as I'm sitting there, I'm thinking it's kind of breezy, and this tree's moving, and I'm thinking, why is this stinking tree moving?
Yeah.
Well, when the sun came up, I realized I was up about 60 feet in the air in a tree because I spaced it about 2.5, 3 feet apart.
Jeez.
I said, this isn't good. And by then, the wind was really breezing. And I thought, holy crap, there's no way I'm going to shoot a deer. There's just no way. I mean, with that much movement,
Yeah.
I lowered that thing down, but I left everything. And
Oh,
it's
man.
probably still there
I hope
today.
somebody found that thing, because now they'd find it, they'd probably look at it and be like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Who did that?
And maybe they climb up it. Oh,
Hopefully they got a harness, because
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
It was a pretty good size. It was a big old cottonwood tree. But yeah, and as I got up, it kept bowing. So
Yeah.
I knew I was flattening out, but I just didn't
had
really.
no idea how high
I
you
couldn't
were.
put the math together at that time in the night of how far apart I was and how many pieces, because I had them in a big backpack on my
Yeah.
back, and so I just kept pulling them out, screwing.
And you're doing this no harness or anything like that.
No
You're just
harness.
climbing.
Nope, just climbing. The only thing I had was my gun on the ground
Yeah.
with a roll of
Tied to
a
you.
big piece of rope
Yeah.
tied to it, so I knew when I was done,
Yeah.
I'd be able to just pull it
God,
up.
you could probably see the whole county from up there.
I seen a long ways, let me tell you. But I just thought
I bet the climb down was a little daunting.
it was a little nerve wracking.
I hope these screws are in.
Well, the wind was blowing pretty
Yeah.
good, but because I was up so stinking high.
Yeah.
And I was. You think about stupid things you do when you're young. That was pretty stupid. No harness.
Oh my
I'm just setting up on a stinking tree.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I dropped the gun down. I wasn't there probably. Oh man, probably an hour after sunrise.
Yeah.
And I said, "This is stupid."
But yeah, wind's blowing like that, and you're just like, I got to get out of here.
Well, there's just no way you're
Yeah.
gonna. You
You're
can't
not going to
hold-
hit anything if you're swaying that hard.
No, and there's just no way you're gonna put a scope on a deer. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a moving target already, and
Yeah.
now you're a moving target. So
Yeah.
what are the odds?
Yeah.
But it was more the fact of how stinking high it was. I was like, holy crap! I got nervous,
I bet.
and but it was a slow climb down. But the gun went first. I took
Yeah.
all the bullets out of the gun,
Yep.
dropped
Loaded
it down.
Yep.
I thought I am not, and yeah, it took a while to get down, but I got down. Matter of fact, I threw everything off.
Yeah.
I threw the backpack off. I threw the screw gun. I got it. I was
launching
as naked as could be going down. I wanted to be as light as possible because my mind's gone now. What if one of these stinking boards
Yeah.
breaks? So yeah, I got rid of all my weight.
I always think about that, like, nowadays, like, there's, anything and everything you need for, like, climbing trees and doing all this stuff. It's like back then, like, I bet that some of the dumb things that people did back then that, like, nobody even cared or even thought about.
Well,
like,
Marvin, the
Yeah.
farm owner, he was an innovative guy.
Yeah.
He decided to make deer blinds
Yeah.
out of pig feeders.
Yeah.
Well, that's a round corrugated steel.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now think about that. You're getting inside of the steel container,
Yeah.
and you're gonna shoot a gun.
Better have earplugs.
They didn't though. That was the humorous part.
Oh, nobody did back then.
And not only that, they're stinking ice cold. Because I remember
Yeah. You
Gary
didn't-
Pitzel
didn't
got
have
in
heaters
there.
back then.
Gary Pitzel got in there, and they shot a deer. Him and Dennis.
Yeah.
And right at the last minute,
Yeah.
Dennis said, "Don't," because
Yeah.
it dawned on him how loud it was going to be, and he shot. And Gary turned and looked, and Dennis grabbed both of his ears and he got out of the thing, and he said he just kind of walked deliriously on how loud it was.
Oh man, it was like probably being like getting flash bombed.
Oh, man, I'm telling you.
Oh my gosh.
They came back. Gary's like, I can't hear. And Dennis was like, my ears I think they're bleeding. Oh my gosh, it was so loud. And it, when you've seen it now and you're thinking, yeah, that makes sense because
Yeah.
all he did was cut openings in the top
Right.
half of it.
Yeah.
So it was watertight,
Yeah.
and it was there was no wind that could get
Yeah.
it, but you got to
Make
do
sure
the
you
other.
get the barrel out of it at
Oh
least.
my gosh, it was
Oh,
loud. I can't
God.
imagine how loud it was in there. And it was just a little deer they shot too
Yeah.
to boot. It wasn't like
Yeah.
it was a record deer that would have
No.
been worth it.
That's all right. I mean,
my
it's still a
gosh.
deer, but that's just that you gotta think about that. And I bet that thing was. I bet it was so loud and echoed so loud.
The Pitzel boys were another group. Dennis and Gary were kind of like me and Tony. We just kind of did everything. And they went out hunting, and they ended up walking a field.
Yeah.
They they were gonna walk. 2 other guys showed up,
Mm-hmm.
and they said, "Can we walk with you?" And they thought, "Great, there's 4 of us."
Yeah.
Well, the 2 that went in with them,
Yeah.
the one guy ended up shooting his buddy.
Oh, jeez.
They had to call the Brainerd ambulance. They had to come out.
Oh, my gosh.
I have no clue if the guy was okay or not, but Dennis said the guy was bleeding pretty badly.
I bet.
They could shot him. I said, well, for starters,
that's
you
just
don't
bad
hunt with
luck.
people that you don't know.
I mean, yeah, to some degree, but like obviously you kind of got to feel out the situation, see if you think they know what they're doing, but obviously they didn't. Those people did.
Shot him, and I don't think the Pitzels ever went pheasant hunting after that.
Like, did they shoot him on purpose? Or
No, he just bird got up.
Yeah.
They said a bird got up, and the guy just swung and pulled the trigger. So
Jeez. Yeah.
I don't know where he shot him or how far he was, but
Yeah.
they had to call the
probably
ambulance.
pretty close if they're walking together. Like,
30, 40 yards
yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
But
Jeez.
I just knew he was bleeding, and they, Dennis and Gary, they had to wait and
Yeah.
give statements. And he said it was weird, you got this ambulance that drives out into this cornfield, and I don't know whatever happened to the guy, if he died or if he's okay. But
Yeah. Hopefully.
yeah, it's just smart to know them, and it's different. I think it's a little different when deer hunting because, as a rule, not many people are moving around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Except for the Pitzels.
Yeah.
They, if we were on 5,000 acres, they
Yeah.
would cover 5,000 acres in that day.
There's still people like that to this day. It's like that guy we met at the O'Reillys that one day.
It drove me nuts. Oh, I know.
Yeah, I just go walk around and see if I can get as close as I can to those guys in the tree stands.
Well,
We're like, what?
Wasn't it you and I sitting on Thomas Creek when that guy came up to us?
Yeah. Yeah. He just came walking
Who in
up.
the right mind does that?
Yeah, and we're in a pop-up blind, like
You're
you
in
can
a
see.
pop-up.
Yeah.
There's guys hunting.
all wearing
and
orange.
You just don't walk up and say, "Hey, how's it going?"
Yeah,
Not like killing a hunt.
I know. There's so many dumb people out there. Like I get walking to some degree, depending on the property.
Right.
But you're on public land where there's a bunch of other people hunting. That's the last thing you should be doing.
That's the problem with weekend warriors.
Yeah.
They're out there. They've sat for an hour. They're like, I'm just going to cover the whole ground.
Yeah,
Well, you got other people hunting,
yeah. I mean,
and that's going to irritate other people.
yeah. Instead of like actually trying to find a better spot where you have better
Right.
sign for deer and stuff. Like if you just want to kill a deer, that's great. But
Right.
put in a little bit more effort and try and find where you're finding good fresh sign where there should be a deer.
Oh, absolutely. But you just don't. And when you see someone, whether they're in a tree in orange or in green, in camo or what, you don't go up to them.
Yeah, I mean that's like my buddy that I had on the podcast a few weeks ago, Chris. Like he was talking about they were hunting public land up by Valentine this year,
Right.
and he saw these guys. They were in this spot, and these guys were 100 yards away from him, but they were walking toward him, and it was getting right close to like the last hour or so, like good time when deer should start moving.
Of all the time you want them to come by.
Yeah, and he sees them coming, so he gets up and starts waving at them like, "Hey, we're here! Like, don't come up here!" And they just kept walking, and they just walked right up to him. They're like, "Hey, how's it going?" He's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "We're in the last hour of light when this is the perfect time deer are gonna be moving. What are you doing walking all the way up here? Like, go the other direction." But some people just don't get it.
Yeah. Well, that's the plus to being able to hunt private ground.
Yeah. Well, that's why I quit wanting to hunt public
Yeah.
ground. I got tired of that stuff.
It's just you just never know who's coming.
And there's even some public ground that's really good ground, but
Right.
I don't even want to deal with it.
Especially the opening weekend.
Yeah.
Second weekend, it's a lot less
Yeah.
hunters. But I mean, that was the thing about when we used to hunt up north by Springview.
Mm-hmm.
When we first started hunting that creek,
Mm-hmm.
no one ever went there.
Yeah.
Till they found out we started killing a lot of deer there.
We killed a lot of good deer
Oh
there.
my gosh, we killed a lot of deer there. And you would have never thought it.
No. That's why it was so good, because it doesn't look like there's ever going to be a single deer on that property.
No.
And so,
But
every
next
year-
thing you know,
Yeah.
you start having people and people and people and people, and
Yep.
that's just I don't know. That's so it got over busy up by Springview.
Yeah. Well, even Thomas Creek, remember the first couple years we went there was only a couple trucks there.
Yeah, you
And
never.
by the last time I hunted there, because that's when I was like, I'm not hunting this spot anymore. There were so many trucks there that last year. Yeah. Me and Phil were sitting there opening morning, and it was that morning when it was super foggy. We were sitting there, and we knew you guys had gone to this other area.
Right.
And we're sitting there, and all of a sudden the sun's finally coming up, and fog starts clearing off, and we see 2 or 3 guys sitting stinking 200 yards in front of us on the ground. And I was like, is that Dad and Justin? I was like, what are they doing? I thought you guys walked all the way over to that spot and sat down. I was like, why would they sit there? We're literally right in front of them. It was somebody else.
Yeah.
But then that was when we were like, well, this is pointless. So we got out and we drove around and there was just trucks everywhere.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is dumb.
Well, it is. I mean, that's the downside of public ground.
Yeah.
Is,
Well, there's just not enough of it, unfortunately.
right.
Like, not in Nebraska anyway.
Well, there are a lot of public ground, but not for deer hunting.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's,
Like,
you know,
there's a good amount for bird, but
Yes.
like for deer, there's not enough public ground for deer
No.
hunting in Nebraska.
No.
Not good ground anyway.
No, you know, people start hearing about this place taking a lot of deer, and next
Yep.
thing you know, they tell their buddies and their
Yep.
buddies. And you got everybody and their brother up there.
Yeah. Well, that's why the first few years we were killing them in that one spot. We were saying we were killing them in the other spot.
Oh, absolutely.
We were like, yeah, we're killing them over here.
Yeah, you don't give away your hunting hole, man, because next thing you know, you got
Yep.
everybody's brother there.
And that was back when you had deer check-in stations. Where now you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
You can just telecheck now. But
Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, I wish that's how it would have been back then, because then
Yeah.
you wouldn't have had near the, you know, everybody just comes and hangs out at that station. Their ears are open.
the only guy that would have known was that farmer
Right.
that we always talked to.
Yep.
Really great guy, but he knew every time
yeah.
because he was always, every time he hear a gunshot, he'd come driving over on his
Yeah,
four
he
wheeler.
was-
What'd you guys get?
He was
be
worried
like,
about
"Oh,
all his muleys.
Yep. He'd be like, oh, yeah, I seen that deer around. He always
Yeah.
knew.
Well, across the street on his land, you'd see 200 every night, you know.
He had a bunch.
He didn't like that people were shooting his bucks. So.
Yeah. I don't think we ever shot any of his giants. So I
No,
think he was
no.
okay. But we saw some good ones.
Yep.
We definitely had some chances.
But he bow hunted, and he wanted
Yeah.
to save them for himself. I get that.
Yeah, I don't blame him. He's got nice property.
But that's the problem. You started getting too many vehicles driving through the property, which they could because there was a road.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
yeah, no, it got too busy.
Mm-hmm.
It was too bad.
Yep.
And Thomas Creek.
It was a fun area, though.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
It was a beautiful area to hunt up there.
Yep. Yeah. No, it was nice. I mean, we stayed in a nice house, which was nice.
Yeah, that place is great.
We never hardly ever hunted his land though, because it was just so stinking
So
thick.
thick, yeah. Thick and canyony.
Oh my gosh, it was horrible.
Yeah.
You know, I remember we see deer there, but
Yeah, we saw a lot of does, a couple small bucks,
yep.
but yeah.
Yeah, no, but really, no, we never see any muleys out there.
No.
Where we're at now, we see muleys. So
Yeah. We saw some muleys up on the public land.
On Creek, yeah.
Yeah.
Never, I don't know if I ever seen a muley over at Thomas Creek.
Yeah, that's what Phil shot out the one
Okay.
time. I didn't see many, but,
Yeah, but
definitely saw a couple.
Thomas Creek, we had seen a lot of muley over
Yeah.
there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was more muley country.
But it was wide open.
Yeah,
But no, we shot a lot of deer up there.
we did. We had some good
Lot of
success
deer.
there. For public land, we actually killed a lot of good deer over there.
Yeah, I wish we would have never lost Marvin's place. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, it's the same thing, you know. You had this great place,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden someone, you know, we were paying him,
Yeah,
but someone came in and offered him almost 20 times the amount we were paying,
yeah,
and he took it.
yeah,
And then we lost that place, which was too bad because we not only had deer there, we had antelope there.
yeah.
There was no season there.
Oh,
They never had a season
they
yet.
weren't- didn't
They're
have a
growing the
unit there yet.
herd,
Yeah,
and then they allowed those stinking wolves in, and
yeah,
they just slowly disappeared.
yeah,
You know, we went from like 40 to 25
Yeah.
to 20. We were down to single digits the last time I was there,
yeah,
which was sad.
yeah,
But, you know, they had a lot of deer down. And we noticed because we went from, there was a point where you could drive, you know, his driveway was probably 7 miles long.
yeah. I remember that.
And you could drive in and you'd just see deer all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And once those wolves became in there,
Yeah,
the farmers were enraged and you hardly ever saw deer.
yeah.
They
Oh,
were
yeah. I'm sure.
always down in the
decimating
trees.
them. Yeah,
And but they were just always hidden, and
Yeah.
that was too bad because, I mean, they had a good thing out there. But
yeah. It was a sweet property.
yeah,
Very secluded too.
yeah. I wish now I would have taken advantage of it.
Yeah,
You know, when you're young, you're stupid.
yeah.
Because he was willing to sell us a bunch of land for $300 an acre.
That's so painful.
I know.
I mean, back then, that's obviously a lot of money to you, but like,
It is.
think how much that land is
Nowadays
worth
it's
now.
$3,000 an acre.
Oh, it's more than that.
Probably, but
Oh, yeah.
I mean, but yeah, we had 4,500 acres above us and 3,500 on the bottom.
Down the river bottom.
Yeah, and he said, how much do you want to buy? Because we always wanted to buy that Lookout Point area.
Yeah. Well, and to him, I'm sure all the area that's not farmable is
farmable.
useless to him, so he didn't care.
And that's why he was willing to sell it.
Oh,
Gosh,
man.
I wish we'd have bought the whole bottom.
Yeah, buy that whole bottom in that Lookout Point area. Oh my gosh, that would have been.
Even if we'd have bought 500 acres,
Oh yeah.
that would have covered us.
Oh yeah.
All along the river.
Yeah.
And sure, now it's 150. Now it's be in the millions, but
Yeah.
it had the 2 houses on it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! I mean, you could have tore them down and rebuilt something nice up
Put
there.
something nice on there. Nice lodge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's too bad. Yeah, hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah. That's
We're never smart when we're young.
well. It's when you don't have money, you don't ever
Right.
think about it. 'Cause
Oh
you're
$300 an acre was a lot.
Yeah, you're thinking you got to figure out a way to pay for this, and it's hard
Only
to do.
if we would have.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If you would have been able to do it and make it work and hold on to it, in the long run, you'd have made a
Because your
killing off of
taxes
it.
were basically nothing up there.
Yeah.
Because it's not a farmable ground.
Yeah.
There's no ag.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could have. That would have been a good deal.
Yeah.
But
It is what it is.
it is what it is.
All right. Well, we better call our quits. We've been going for, I don't know, about an hour and 20 minutes or so. We don't want to go too long, so we can do it again. But
All right.
thanks for coming on. This has been fun.
Absolutely.
We'll finish off our Pint 9 Brewing here, and thanks for listening or watching to the, I guess this is episode 10 of Pins and Crosshairs. I forgot to mention that at the beginning, so episode 10. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll catch you next time.
All right.